With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown. Our top stories. St. Kitts and Nevis to engage communities in sensitization project on single-use plastic ban. ECCB Monetary Council maintains key rates amidst global economic uncertainty. Guyana and the U.S. in talks over flight and movement of illegal migrants. Grenada's new national party hit with a fresh wave of resignations. Internationally, on international security, world leaders discuss Ukraine and defense spending. Now, the details. Over the next few months, St. Kitts and Nevis will implement a sensitization project on the ongoing campaign to reduce and eliminate plastic pollution in the villages of Keyon, Keys, Canada Estate, and Otleys. The project is called the Sensitization on Eliminating Single-Use Plastics in the St. Mary's Biosphere Reserve. Telka Wallace, National Coordinator of the St. Mary's Biosphere Reserve, shared details on the initiative in the most recent edition of In Focus. Wallace explained that the project involves environmental collaboration to sensitize and eliminate single-use plastics within the St. Mary's Biosphere Reserve. A key project component is a survey to gauge public sentiment and practices related to the ban.
The survey speaks to how people feel about the ban. Do they see plastics as being dangerous, harmful? What are they doing within their households to absorb to address the ban on the plastics? And as a community, what positives do you see coming out of the ban?
The initiative aims to identify opportunities for job creation related to the ban.
Are there jobs that can be created from the ban? Because a lot of times we look at everything as a restriction, but this is an opportunity for persons within the communities to look at.
She highlighted the potential for reviving traditional sustainable practices.
We used to have baskets that we went to the shop with. We used to have those patchwork bags where, the seamstresses would sew up their pieces of cloth and so on, and you can sell them.
The National Commission is exploring branding opportunities for sustainable products.
Even at the National Commission level, we are looking at branding. If a seamstress or someone within the community can come up with a product that can be used and it is biodegradable, etc., the MAB can put their logo on it and make it a signature brand.
The project seeks to engage communities between Canada Estate, Keyon, and Otleys. Wallace emphasized the importance of community participation.
Even at the National Commission level, we are looking at branding. If a seamstress or someone within the community can come up with a product that can be used and it is biodegradable, etc., the MAB can put their logo on it and make it a signature brand.
The survey will begin in mid-February 2025 with a target sample size of 250 to 300 participants over 2 weeks.
We are hoping to begin the middle of next week.
Okay.
So we look at 2 weeks because we just need a sample size about 250 to 300 persons.
The collected data will be stored and shared with international bodies.
So at the MAB level, we are now putting this footprint on the plastic ban, where we have collected data from the community and we will store the data so that we can send it to Paris, we can send it to everywhere.
Following the survey, a consultation with the national stakeholders will be held, guided by the survey's findings.
And then our next activity would be a consultation with national stakeholders that would be guided by what came out in the survey.
The consultation aims to develop strategies based on the community's input and needs. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank ECCB Monetary Council convened its 110th meeting on Friday, February 14, 2025 in St. Kitts and Nevis. The meeting addressed the region's monetary stability and financial outlook. Council Chairman Dr. Ellis Lorenzo Webster, also the council member for Anguilla, presented the official communique outlining key decisions and observations from the meeting, which included representatives from Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Kitts and and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Council reaffirmed its commitment to maintaining economic stability amid global uncertainty, emphasizing the need for continued vigilance and strategic financial management within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union (ECCU). The Governor's report on monetary, credit, and financial conditions in the ECCU, titled "Seizing the Opportunities to Reposition the ECCU for Transformation," highlighted the dual nature of the global economic environment, characterized by both uncertainty and resilience, with projections indicating growth in the USA and China. However, the report also cautioned about potential downside risks, such as renewed inflationary pressures, geopolitical issues, climate shocks, policy shifts among significant trading partners, and volatility in citizenship by investment programs. Despite these global challenges, the ECCU maintains a positive growth outlook for 2025.
The ECCU's growth outlook for 2025 remains positive in the range of 3.5% to 4.5%, with tourism, post-hurricane barrel reconstruction, and investments in physical infrastructure expected to drive growth. Cognizant that bold reforms and timely passage of legislation are required for sustainable growth outcomes, the ECCB continues to support a stable and resilient financial sector and encourages the member governments to expedite the enactment of the relevant legislation.
To support this growth, the Council agreed to maintain the minimum savings rate at 2% and the discount rate at 3% for short-term credit and 4.5% for long-term credit, ensuring favorable conditions for borrowing and investment. In assessing financial stability with the ECCU, the Monetary Council noted that the banks are generally well capitalized and the deposits continue to grow, reflecting confidence in the region's financial institutions. The ECCU banking system boasts high liquidity, estimated at $1.5 billion EC dollars at the end of December 2024.
The EC currency remains strong. The backing ratio, also known as the ratio of foreign assets to demand liabilities, continues its upward trajectory and stood at 98.2% as at 7th February 2025. Reserves are $5.5 billion EC dollars as at the week ending 7 February 2025, up from $5.4 billion as at the 11th of October 2024.
The Council also highlighted the progress of the Everdata ECCU Limited, a credit bureau operator. Everdata has signed agreements with a significant number of licensed financial institutions and credit unions to enhance credit underwriting and lower credit risks. Furthermore, the Council approved the publication of the Financial Stability Report 2023 Part 2, which identifies cyber and climate risks as key challenges to financial stability, prompting efforts to mitigate these threats through various regulatory and strategic initiatives.
In support of financial stability, efforts addressing risks include 1. Lowering credit risk by enhancing credit underwriting with the commencement of the Credit Bureau. 2. Lowering the risk profile of CBI/CIP programs. The Interim Regulatory Commission, IRC, has selected Lydia Elliott, legal drafting consultant, to draft uniform legislation that would enable the establishment of a regional regulator for CIP/CBI in the ECCU. Stakeholders from government, the CIP/CBI industry, and social partners will be invited to share their views on the establishment of the regional CBI/CIP regulator in a series of in-country consultations commencing in March of 2025. Fiscal debt sustainability. The ECCU fiscal situation showed signs of improvement in 2024 to increased economic activity and stronger fiscal management.
Looking ahead, the ECCB Monetary Council is actively engaged in several initiatives to promote financial inclusion and regional development, which includes encouraging licensed financial institutions to offer basic bank accounts to customers with a unified rollout of simplified due diligence procedures targeted for April 2025. The Council also approved an allocation of $25 million for a food and nutrition security program in the ECCU supporting member countries' efforts to reduce food imports by 25%. The next meeting of the Monetary Council is scheduled for July 18th, 2025 in Barbuda. The Honorable Gaston Brown, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance of Antigua and Barbuda, is expected to assume chairmanship of the Council, continuing the collective effort to foster economic stability and growth within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. In regional news, Guyana and the U.S. in talks over flight and movement of illegal migrants, Guyana News source reports.
With American television network CBS News reporting that the U.S. government had considered a plan to send third country deportees to Guyana as part of its mass deportation of undocumented immigrants, President Irfan Ali said, while there have been discussions on migration matters with the U.S., there has been no talk about having deportees sent to Guyana to be imprisoned.
Accepting deportees is not having persons in prison. What we are discussing is our partnership with the U.S. And as the U.S. unfolds its programs and plans, wherever Guyana can be of support, we have expressed our support, but nothing about prison and having persons in prisons and deportees here. Some specific issues were discussed, which I'm not going to go into detail on.
Just after the change of the U.S. administration, President Ali held discussions with the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. A statement from the U.S. Department of State just after that meeting indicated that there were discussions in relation to the issue of migration. As part of its strategy to clamp down on illegal migration, the U.S., through its immigration and border control agencies, have been sweeping through a number of communities across the United States in search of undocumented immigrants. It has started to ship many of those illegal immigrants out and has been in talks with a number of countries, including countries in Latin America, to accept deportees other than their citizens as part of a third country program. President Ali made it clear today that in his discussions, there is nothing about accepting deportees. The president also said he has not seen a report from CBS News, and therefore he would not want to comment on the contents of that report. However, he stated the partnership with the U.S. remains strong.
My discussions with Secretary Rubio, we have discussed a range of issues, including the migration issue.
On Thursday, the chambers of the Attorney General announced that a Government of Guyana team led by the Attorney General, along with the Minister of Home Affairs and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, met with a visiting team of law enforcement officers of the United States. The U.S. team included officials from the U.S. Marshals Service and the U.S. Embassy Regional Security Office. The Attorney General said the two sides discussed continuing cooperation between the governments and law enforcement agencies of Guyana and their counterparts in the U.S. on strengthening cooperation on legal matters, including rendering mutual assistance in criminal matters and extraditions between the two countries. The U.S. government has been pushing for a number of deportation agreements with various countries to accept unauthorized migrants, including those from other countries than their own.
Grenada's new National Party hit with a fresh wave of resignations. Grenada Broadcasting Network has that story.
The new National Party, the NNP, is dealing with a fresh wave of resignations as 8 members of the St. Patrick's East branch exits the party. In a letter dated February 12th, addressed to NNP General Secretary Roland Bola, the members expressed their frustration with the party leadership, whom they feel acted in an undemocratic and disrespectful manner. The letter reads in part, "We hereby tender our resignation from the party effective immediately. The principal reason for our resignation is the highly undemocratic and conniving manner in which delegates were handpicked for the last convention, sidelining long-standing members, including ourselves. The resigning fraction emphasized their disillusionment with the party's leadership, noting, "This move has been highly disrespectful to us and unappreciative of the tremendous personal sacrifices we have made towards the success of the NNP over the years." They cited their experiences of political victimization and the loss of personal opportunities as further reasons for their departure. The St. Patrick's East resignations came on the heels of the exit of Alistair Bain, the long-standing chairman of the NNP's St. George's Northwest constituency branch, who left citing ethical leadership concerns and a lack of internal democracy within the party. Bain's resignation, along with that of MP Peter David, signals significant turmoil within the NNP, with other branches following suit. This is the third batch of delegates to leave the party in the last few weeks. During a community meeting held last Sunday night, Pierre suggested that the ongoing discussions about resignations are merely a distraction from the more significant challenges facing the nation. The party leader further stated that moving forward, the party will no longer address the issue of resignations following Monday's meeting. Christina John, GBN News.
We now bring you these international reports.
The Munich Security Conference has, for more than 6 decades, been a place where the transatlantic alliance between Europe and the US has been centre stage. But less than 4 weeks after President Trump took office, there's great unease and a recognition the world has changed, probably permanently.
Because there is a clear attempt by some to build spheres of influence. Competing visions of the world order are leading to a more transactional approach in global affairs. And Europe has to change to thrive in this new reality. We have to be smart. We have to be clear-eyed about what is ahead of us.
For Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, this is a time of real uncertainty. His delegation met with both the US Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, with strong suggestions Ukraine will have to give up the territory it's lost to Russia and won't be allowed to join NATO. Earlier, in his keynote speech to the conference, the Vice President didn't focus on Ukraine, hitting out instead at European leaders who he said were censoring free speech by labelling it disinformation and were targeting groups on the political fringes.
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America.
There is a broad recognition that Trump's approach, even more transactional and forceful than in his first term, may change the face of international relations forever.
Well, it's a new style, no doubt. And I think in Europe we have to adapt to that new style. And we should conclude that if the US does not execute its role as the world's policeman, then we have to be able to protect ourselves. We have to invest much more in our own security.
At the end of the first day of this annual event, complete dismay perhaps sums up the sentiment of many of the European delegates here. It may not be an understatement to say that the state of transatlantic relations between the US and Europe is now the most fragile it's been at any time since World War II. James Bays, Al Jazeera, Munich.
In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance accused European leaders on Friday of censoring free speech and failing to control immigration in an address at the Munich Security Conference in Germany.
I really do believe that allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still, which of course brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations.
The comments drew a sharp rebuke from Germany's Defense Minister Boris Pistorius and overshadowed discussions on the war in Ukraine.
This democracy was called into question earlier by the U.S. Vice President for the whole of Europe. He spoke of the cancellation of democracy, and if I understood him correctly, he compared conditions in parts of Europe with those in authoritarian regimes. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not acceptable.
The clash underlined the divergent worldviews of U.S. President Donald Trump's new administration and European leaders, making it hard for longtime allies, the United States and Europe, to find common ground on issues including Ukraine. The war-torn country's President Volodymyr Zelensky told the conference that he would talk to Russian President Vladimir Putin only once Ukraine had agreed on a common plan with Trump and European leaders.
I will meet with Russians, with only one Russian guy, with Putin, only after we will have common plan with Trump, Europe, and we will sit with Putin and stop the war. Only in this case I'm ready to meet, not in other compromises platforms.
He also met with Vance to discuss the path forward. Both sides declined to give details of what they discussed, but the Ukrainian president reiterated that his country needs real security guarantees.
Wall Street's main indexes ended mixed on Friday, with the Dow down more than 0.33%, the S&P 500 flat, and the Nasdaq up 0.4%. While President Trump's tariff talk dominated most of the week's headlines, investors on Friday focused on retail sales figures for January, which took an unexpected nosedive after 4 strong months. Sam Stovall is chief investment strategist at CFRA Research.
Well, the market is basically treading water today, essentially because we get the good news that it sounds like tariffs are more rhetoric than reality. Same for the concern recently about inflation. But now we got retail sales that came in weaker than anticipated. So investors are trying to make head or tails out of the direction of this economy, interest rates, etc.
Among big tech stocks, NVIDIA added 2.6% and Apple gained 1.3%. Microsoft and Amazon both ended lower. Airbnb jumped 14% after the vacation home rentals company posted higher quarterly revenue. And Applied Materials fell 8% after the chip-making equipment supplier forecast second quarter revenue below estimates. U.S. markets will be closed on Monday for the President's Day holiday.
Now, an asteroid that was spotted late last year by space scientists is being carefully tracked. Scientists are trying to work out whether there's a chance of it hitting the Earth, which could happen 8 years from now. Our science editor, Rebecca Morell, is here with more details. Rebecca.
Thanks, Jane. Well, there's still a lot we need to learn about asteroid 2024 YR4. What we do know is that it's estimated to be between 40 and 90 metres, and the date it could hit is the 22nd of December 2032. Now, that chance is very small. It was thought to be 1.3%, but that risk has now gone up to 2%. But scientists say, don't panic.
We talk about collision risks with these things a lot, but maybe it's better to think about the avoidance risk or the avoidance probability, and that's actually still quite high. So there's a 98% chance that this object will not hit our planet. And maybe that's what we should keep in mind.
That increase in impact risk is something that astronomers expect, and here's why. When an asteroid is first spotted, we're still learning about its orbit. The asteroid could pass through anywhere in the area of uncertainty, and it's big. Now, the Earth is in it too, but the risk of a collision is low. As we get more information, the area of uncertainty of where the asteroid might be shrinks. But now you can see that the Earth fills up more of it, so the risk increases. But as we learn even more, the area of uncertainty shrinks further, hopefully to a point where the Earth is now outside of it, so there's a zero risk of a collision. Astronomers are now trying to find out as much as they can, but time is short. The asteroid is currently moving away from the Earth, and after May, it won't be visible again until 2028. So they're using the most powerful tool they have, the James Webb Space Telescope. This will tell astronomers the precise size of the asteroid and more about its orbit. It's crucial information should we need a plan of action.
Although we may not be certain that at the moment this asteroid is going to hit, if it is going to hit, we know exactly when that will occur. And so we know what we need to do, for example, if we just want to evacuate an impact area, or in fact, if we have enough warning time, as may be the case for this one, we can actually mount a deflection mission.
NASA has already tested a deflection mission. It crashed a spacecraft into another small asteroid and successfully changed its orbit. But don't worry, we're not at that stage yet. Astronomers will continue to monitor this space rock.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were St. Kitts and Nevis to engage communities in sensitization project on single-use plastic ban. ECCB Monetary Council maintains key rates amidst global economic uncertainty. Guyana and the U.S. in talks over flight and movement of illegal migrants. Grenada's new national party hit with a fresh wave of resignations. Internationally, on international security, world leaders discuss Ukraine and defense spending. Thank you for listening.